Coming up on the Cam Show, why have the Bruins not signed Jeremy Swayman yet? Get this done. Plus, we look at some of the great All-Star Game performances, and is last night one of them? Yeah, maybe. Braden has some thoughts on people that go to the movies, and he is trying to pick a club. We're going to help him out with that. All that and more coming up on the Cam Show. Music. That's when you play the music. It is the Cam Show, powered by Rogue Media Sports Network, and it is the middle of July, which only means one thing. Hockey, baby. Yes, hockey. The Boston Bruins have one restricted free agent left. They signed minor leaguer Mark McLaughlin to a two-way contract, one RFA left, and you could argue it's the best player on their team from last year. Jeremy Swayman, the goaltender, still pining for a contract. And we, as Bruins fans, begging Don Sweeney to get this done. This has been kind of a weird saga. It's not one of the great drawn-out sagas. It's not a holdout yet. Swayman and the Bruins have agreed to not go to arbitration, which is a big thing. Swayman himself last year said he didn't want to go to arbitration ever again. But it's July 17th as we record this, and he doesn't have a contract. And he's on an expiring. And we've heard that clearly the Bruins have made him a priority in terms of they traded the 2023 Vezina Trophy winner, Linus Ullmark, to a team within their division to make Jeremy Swayman goaltender number one, just like it says on his jersey. But still no contract. They've gone through their big free agent moves. They're not going to sign someone else from the outside, and still they have enough cap space to give Swayman probably around the number he wants, $8 to $9 million a year. But still, Swayman doesn't have a contract. So what is taking this long? And why doesn't he have that contract in front of him? Because since Swayman's come in the league, he has, slowly but surely established himself as one of the top goalies in the game. And his performance in the postseason last year was not a fluke. It was otherworldly to get the Bruins to 13 playoff games with an AHL lineup out there for scoring purposes anyway. He had the most, great chances against in the playoffs and had the most saves on said chances in the postseason and willed the Bruins to a 6-game series against the eventual Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers, a team that they were absolutely outmatched by. But the Bruins had Jeremy Swayman. So it was not a fluke. This wasn't just a random Cam Ward 2006, Dwayne Rolfson 2006, journeyman guy who has this unbelievable postseason. I don't think it's that. Because Jeremy Swayman has proved to be at least a starting goaltender, if not a top-end starting goaltender, every year of his career. We had the Ullmark Vezina Trophy, and still in that season, he and Swayman were splitting time evenly. Just 1 year later, Swayman had taken the mantle as the playoff starter for the Bruins. 1 year after an incredible Vezina Trophy winning season from his goaltending tandem partner, Linus Ullmark. And still, Jeremy Swayman does not have a contract. So what is the pushback here? Is he asking for a lot of money? Yeah. He is. Don't get me wrong. Somewhere between $8 and $9 million a year. That's up there with the highest paid goalies in the game. Okay? Like that's a big part of your cap. And if you're the Bruins, of course that's cause for concern. But if you look at the guys who are paid this kind of money, Swayman's in that class. I look at the AAV and the highest AAVs of goaltenders in this 2024-25 season. Number one, Jeremy Swayman is definitely better than this guy. Carey Price, getting $10.5 million this year to be retired, former Montreal Canadien. Sergei Bobrovsky, $10 million a year. It's tough to argue with that. That's a Hall of Famer right there. That's a guy who a lot of people thought should have won the Conn Smythe. He was incredible for most of that postseason, and he's shown that in the past before for the Stanley Cup winners. Andrei Vasilevsky, big game goalie, absolutely, was critical in that back-to-back Stanley Cup championship run for the Lightning, and has been I mean, even that next year when they went to the final, in closeout games, he is one of the best goalies of all time. But Jeremy Swayman had a better year. Carter Hellebuck, Vezina Trophy winner. All that needs to be said. Ilya Sorokin of the New York Islanders, who got benched late in the season because he sucked, $8.25 million a year. You think Jeremy Swayman's better than that? He sure as shit is. In fact, if you compare his numbers with, I'll pick these two, Sorokin and Vasilevsky from last year, it's no contest. Swayman got less games because he had a better goaltending partner in Linus Ullmark, but still, he had a better winning percentage, more shutouts, better goals against average, better save percentage, and better in all of those goals against, goals saved over WAR, whatever the fuck stats you want. Percentage-wise, he's better than all of them. So why is Jeremy Swayman sitting here on July 17th without a contract? Is there actually a world where the Bruins trade him? Unfortunately, I think there is. It's a very slight chance, but I think there is. If they can't meet on a number, they'll say, hey, we got Jonas Korpisalo in the Ullmark deal. A guy who's only a $3 million cap hit, was one of the worst goalies in the league last year, but he's had some decent seasons before. Maybe we can turn him around. After all, we do have the best goaltending coach in the league, Bob Essenza. Who's to say we can't? If they were to trade Jeremy Swayman, it would be as dire a goaltending situation as the Bruins have had in almost 20 years. Because really, I would think of the last 15 years of me rooting for the Bruins, they have been the steadiest goaltending franchise in the entire league. From Tim Thomas to Tuukka Rask to Linus Ullmark and Jeremy Swayman. There's 4 Vezina trophies in there and a Conn Smythe trophy and one of the best goaltending performances in the history of the Stanley Cup playoffs mixed in there. And Tuukka Rask in 2013 wasn't bad either. So they have been the model franchise of goaltending stability the last decade and a half. And if they can't get this deal done, they are teetering on the edge of losing that. And let's make no bones about it. This Bruins team overachieved last year, a year after setting the regular season wins and points records. They overachieved to get to second in the Atlantic Division. And with a chance, by the way, in the last week to win that division, which would have been over the Stanley Cup champions. They overachieved, and the reason they did was because they had the best goaltending in the league. And Swayman was better than Ullmark this year. So to me, it's a no-brainer. You've got the cap space there. You don't have any other free agents to go out and get from externally this year. You need to get rid of Korpisalo so you can get rid of that cap hit, because right now you were supposed to be saving money on the Ullmark trade, and all you saved was $1.15 million. Get this deal done, and then you have your team. It is still a bit of a transitional period for these Bruins. They've got to develop some talent to make up the wings on that roster, because right now I see Fabian Lysell, a guy who played a handful of NHL games last year, potentially on a wing on their second line. And you still got Morgan Geekie up there as a top 6 forward. Good season last year, but come on. That's not contending. I love the Lindholm deal. I love the Zadorov deal. You probably overpaid a little bit for both of them, but that's where you have to be now in this situation. The things that offset that are developing some talent. And I think you got some bottom 6 guys, and hopefully Patra steps up there to be a top 6 guy in the next year or two. But it goes nowhere unless you have your goaltending for the future. Jeremy Swayman is that. Don't overthink this, Don Sweeney. Okay? Because you had a rough year 1. Might I remind you about Matt Bolesky, David Backes, Zach Ronaldo, Jimmy Hayes, the late Jimmy Hayes. But since then, you've hit pretty well. You've had a good average since then. This would really tear things down, because while they overachieved last year, there have been some teams in the last 5 or 6 years in the Don Sweeney tenure that have not gotten to where they need to be. And if that trend, you have that trend in his GM history and he can't handle free agency correctly, then you got to look for somebody else. And that's how important this Jeremy Swayman thing might be. Don't overthink this. He is your goaltender of the future. Make it happen. We're going to hear about the All-Star Game, about Braden Murray's trouble at the movie theater, and his trouble picking a football club. All of that coming up on The Cam Show, powered by Rogue Media Sports Network. It is The Cam Show, powered by Rogue Media Sports Network. Braden Murray, as always, as promised, as delivered, the crooner, Braden Murray, which, by the way, Braden, man, you might have saved the Instagram account.
Really?
At The Cam Show, by the way, please.
Yes.
I was on a bad run, 2 or 3 in a row that were like less than 1,000 views. One had less than 100 views. And I was like, shit, man, we're cooked. We might be cooked here. And it wasn't going that great on YouTube either, but Braden Murray saved me yesterday.
You're welcome, I guess.
With his stirring rendition of someone else's bad rendition of our national anthem. Big hit.
Yeah. I came out of the movie theater, which we'll talk about in this segment.
Yes.
But I come out of the movie theater and check Instagram, and I saw I got tagged in some Instagram comment, and I was like, what happened?
You're like, I have an Instagram notification? Something wild is happening.
Something. I haven't posted in like a month. What's going on here?
You have a good Instagram presence, though.
Thank you. I try.
It's Braden with his thumbs up in various places.
It is. Like that. It's also my profile picture is of when I won Baylor Lariat Opinion of the Week.
Wow.
Column of the Week.
Opinion of the Week.
Yeah.
I like better. Like, you just had the best opinion.
Yeah, I did it I won it for writing a ranking of the best vegetables.
I was ready to say, oh, Braden, that's a good column, because usually the Lariat just puts shit out their editorials, which I did too. I was on the ed board when I was there. That's the Baylor student newspaper, by the way. And it's just dumb. It's all dumb. And you can attest to this. The meetings in which they happen are like, this is stupid. Like, I always left being like, this is stupid. But you ranked the best vegetables.
My favorite vegetables, yeah. And the people.
What was number one? I guess you just tell me what number one was.
I think it was carrots.
I think it's a carrot.
I think it was carrots.
Huh.
And people did not.
Grace says I need to eat more vegetables. I don't eat vegetables.
I got a lot of DMs about how I ranked corn too low.
Corn's good, man.
I do like corn, but I think I ranked it
good.
second or third or something. Anyways.
The only one that made waves was like, what was it, like a year or two ago? That girl did one about how she hates HEB, which nobody on the planet hates HEB, and she got fucking skewered for it. She should have. Anyway, congrats on that, by the way.
Thanks,
congrats.
Thanks.
But you had a very different experience at the movie theater last night. You were coming in here today, like vapor trail behind you, how pissed off you were about the movie. It's not the movie that you saw.
No, the movie I saw was pretty good.
Which was?
I saw Long Legs.
Gotcha. But the movie theater experience, which I hold so dearly, you didn't enjoy.
No. So I've been looking forward to seeing this movie for quite a while. It was one of my most anticipated of the summer. And I'm not. It's a horror. It's kind of it is a horror movie, but it wasn't super duper scary. But I'm not super into horror movies.
Okay.
Just because I'm kind of jumpy in general.
Bitch.
And I haven't seen any horror movies in the theater.
Okay.
And
with this one?
typically in theaters you want it to be dark, and quiet. But so I get there.
Yeah, I've done the lights on, very loud movie theaters before. It's not for me.
Yeah, and I get there and there's no one on either side of me. Oh, good. This is gonna be a pleasant experience.
Reclining seats and everything.
Reclining seats. Says the Cinemark. It's $5 day.
Oh, nice.
So I'm like, this is gonna be a great experience. And luckily, I went early.
For $5 Tuesdays.
I went early enough so that it would have still been light out.
Mm-hmm.
So if I had gotten scared, it wouldn't have been.
You could have walked outside.
Yeah.
Went to the bathroom.
Yep.
Seen the light. Yeah.
And so I went by myself, got a solo seat, and it was a pretty packed theater, which is kind of surprising for a 5:30 kind of indie horror movie. But there's two people who come and sit next to me, two ladies. On the other side, as the trailers go on. It's a couple. And when the movie starts, one of the girls next to me, she's just on her phone, full brightness.
Hell yeah.
Texting.
Hell yeah. Maybe it's just squirmish me. I could just never do that.
No, I power my.
I'd be so afraid of what other people were like. I'm ruining someone else's experience.
I power my phone off.
Does that make me a good person? I don't know.
I turn my phone all the way off, so I can't even get notified about anything. But yeah,
brother.
so that girl's on her phone, and at points in the people were like taking flash pictures of the camera, like of the screen with their cameras. I'm like, what are we doing? Have y'all never been to a movie theater before?
Is this some trend that I'm missing? I haven't been to the movies in like 2 months.
I think it's post-COVID. People just haven't. Or they're so used to watching.
That's so shitty, man.
They're so used to watching movies at home where they can do those things.
Yeah.
That like, it's not going to be any different at the theater. But as the movie goes on, the girl who was on her phone, who's like clearly doesn't know what's happening, she leans over to her friend and like talks full volume
about the movie, like,
about
hey, what's going on? Because I wasn't paying attention.
Yep. And I give them kind of a dirty look in the darkness, and like a glance. And
Dirty look in the darkness.
Oh, sorry.
The Braden Murray story.
And so they keep talking though.
Yeah.
At a lower volume. She keeps going on her phone, and luckily I had brought this hat with me, so I kind of angled it to block out her phone light because it was just so distracting.
By the way, I'm getting a screen grab of that picture.
Okay.
Of you doing that with your hat to save as your contact photo. Yeah.
And I don't know, about an hour into the movie, there's still 40 minutes left. She goes, man, there's so much happening. Again, full volume. There's so much happening.
Shut the fuck up.
There's so much going on. Do you want to leave? So they leave. And like
What?
with 40 minutes into the movie. And, admittedly.
How often have you thought to leave a movie because there's too much happening?
I never leave movie theater. I never leave movies early.
You've never left a movie early?
Mm-mm.
I have. But it was never because too much was happening. In fact, it's usually the opposite.
Really? There's not
Like
enough?
nothing was happening. Like, what is this fucking
And what's
movie?
weird, well, I thought it was weird, is that it was a slow burn. It was a pretty simple story.
These were dumb people.
But the girl who was on her phone clearly had not been.
Riddle me this. Were these people, like, around your age?
I would say so.
Older?
My age
okay,
or-
so
my age
this
or
is
so.
very much a COVID generation.
Yes.
God, these people are going to be fucked up, man. I hate to be that one, like, the next generation that's slightly younger than me is never going to be, but that's fucked up. Like, if you can't even sit through an hour and 40 minutes, we're not even talking about The Irishman here.
No, it was not a long movie at all, dude.
Like, that's insane. I hate kids.
Yeah, it was bad. It was bad.
I'm sorry that happened to you, man.
And it's like there was like the first and really only jump scare of the movie. It came like, I don't know, maybe an hour or so. Again, an hour or so into the movie.
So they were gone.
They were gone.
Yeah. They missed.
And the girl behind me was like, "Oh, finally, this movie is good." Which I was like, "What are we talking about? Have we not been watching the same movie?"
Well, I don't know. At least at least they're paying attention.
Right.
Enough to formulate an opinion. I'll give them that.
Yeah. But I will say it was not very scary, which is nice.
But you liked the movie overall.
I did like the
Thought
movie
it was
overall.
good. Okay.
I liked the movie
More
overall.
of a thriller than a horror?
It was more of a thriller.
Okay. I had a depressing moment last night, actually.
Oh, no.
Quite depressing. And that was me. So I mentioned this on the show yesterday, I think. I'm budgeting. Like, I'm fine, but I'm budgeting. I know you're in the same boat.
I am.
Like, it's budget season. I went for dinner to Burger King.
Okay.
Which I haven't been to in years because it's not good. And there's the most dilapidated Burger King in Texas, just a block from where I live. Like, disgusting. I took a picture of it. There's just birds and bird shit everywhere, all over the fucking sign and everything. And I went in there with a coupon, one of those coupons that gets sent to you in the mail. And I was like, fuck it, I'm just going to use this.
Mm-hmm.
It was like a $10 value for $4. chicken fries, large fry, put it on there. Said, don't want anything else. Don't even want to drink. I'm just going home. Here you go. And I was like, man, if this was ever a sign to end it all, it's me rocking up to a Burger King on a Tuesday night in July, the worst Burger King ever. There's like one person inside the whole building and using a coupon I got in the fucking mail to buy something. Oh, and that was in between the All-Star Game. Did you watch the All-Star Game when you got home?
I told you I wasn't going to, and I did not.
I'm glad that you stuck to your guns. I am really glad that you stuck to your guns there. I got into it only because my guy, Jeremy Swayman,
Well, I saw he won.
hit a home run
And
to
he
put
won
the
MVP.
AL ahead and won the World Series, All-Star Game MVP.
Mm-hmm.
Jeremy Swayman wins the All-Star Game MVP. After Tanner Houck, Red Sox pitcher, got lit up and gave up that Ohtani blast. So I was super, super into that. Super happy for him. So Jeremy Swayman, great story. He actually played in the Cape League, which you've heard all too much about, for Wareham, for the team I was working for, even before I was a broadcaster there. 2017, he was on the team. In fact, 2 guys from that team were representing the American League last night. Stephen Kwan, who won the Rookie of the Year, and also could win the MVP this year. Probably won't, but has the highest average in baseball. Also 2017 Gateman. No big deal. He was J.D. Duran back then, Jaron. So I was like so happy for him. This kid, he was never a prospect really for the Red Sox, and he's made more of himself as a non-prospect as anyone I've ever seen with the Red Sox. Like even Kevin Youkilis, Trot Nixon, like those guys were somewhat prospects. Jeremy Duran was not. He was just like, oh, here's this 24-year-old who's hitting well in AAA. Might as well bring him up. And he had some bad moments up in the major leagues, man. There's a famous video of him not knowing where a fly ball was going. And he's literally, the ball's in the air, he's in center field, and he just goes like this. Has no idea where it's going. Lands over his head. He doesn't even run after it. It's an inside the park home run. Like, classic. And he had a couple more, like, drop fly balls. Like, he went through some shit the last couple of years. And this year, really the end of last year, he started to put it together. He had a great first half. I wasn't sure he was going to get the All-Star nod because, he's not a name. He was voted in by the players. And bang, he wins MVP. That was awesome, man. I know All-Star Game MVP doesn't really mean shit, but that's awesome. That's a guy who, for all we know, his career might fizzle out in a couple of years, and he can say, yeah, I went to the All-Star Game. Yeah, I won the fucking MVP. I came in. I replaced Aaron Judge. It was time for the American League to put a real player in there, so I went in for Aaron Judge, and I won the All-Star Game MVP. How about saying that to your grandkids? Shout out to Jaron Duran. Big time. Adds to a great list of Red Sox All-Star Game MVPs. Carl Yastrzemski, Roger Clemens, Pedro Martinez, J.D. Drew, and Jaron Duran. Which did bring me to a point that I meant to bring up yesterday because over the weekend we went through and Braden, you're just going to have to stick with me in this one.
Okay.
Because I don't know how much you're going to be into this. But I would be remiss. I couldn't be me if I didn't bring this up. Over the weekend, we celebrated the 25th anniversary of the 99 All-Star Game at Fenway Park, a.k.a. probably the greatest All-Star Game ever because I said so. And what we had inside that, almost unequivocally, was the greatest All-Star Game performance of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Pedro Martinez, starting pitcher, American League, Boston Red Sox. Game is at Fenway. It's the all-time team is being introduced. You've got the greatest collection of talent in the history of Major League Baseball on one diamond. And Ted Williams comes out of the bullpen in the cart, finally tipping his cap to the Red Sox fans. He throws out the first pitch. They have to delay the start of the game because all the players are so infatuated with hanging out with Ted Williams, and he's hitting with Mark McGwire. It is the greatest, baseball nostalgia that you could ever imagine. And right in the middle of it was Pedro Martinez, who has, I think, the best peak of any pitcher in Major League history when you talk about what he did and the context of it. He's the starting pitcher for the AL in his home ballpark. And really, I don't want to get too deep into the sentimentality of it, but the steroid chase, or the steroid era and the home run chase, saved baseball in the late 90s after the lockout. I think that's fair to say. But this All-Star Game performance really brings all of baseball in. Like, this is awesome. This felt like, in a weird way, the peak of the sport. And so we talk about that steroid era, and you look at that National League lineup, and it is the Roids Hall of Fame, man.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got guys like McGuire and Sosa and Jeff Bagwell's in there.
Yeah.
And this is like one of the best lineups ever put out in an All-Star game. I'm not kidding. And Pedro, all he does is go out there, first inning. Barry Larkin, 95 MVP, Hall of Famer, strikeout. Larry Walker, Hall of Famer, strikeout. Sammy Sosa, like 3 or 4 seasons with 60-plus home runs. If they didn't catch him doing sticking roids in his ass, Hall of Famer, struck him out too. Second inning, Mark McGuire, gone, see ya. Jeff Bagwell, see you later. Strike him out, throw him out, double play, ends the inning. Faces the minimum in his 2 innings, strikes out 5 of them. And but for the steroids, all 5 would be Hall of Famers. That's incredible. And like you see it, Braden, it's dizzying. His changeup is unhittable. His fastball, he's blowing it by Sammy Sosa. It's the best All-Star Game performance of all time. And I wouldn't be able to let an All-Star Game go by on my show when I own this jersey, which is like my favorite jersey I own, 99 All-Star Game, Pedro, 45 on the back. I couldn't let that go by without mentioning that is the greatest All-Star Game performance of all time. You lined up a murderer's row of hitters, and he fucking dominated them.
I want to mention that you said, or maybe you didn't mean this, but you said that Jeff Bagwell isn't Hall of Famer. But
no, Jeff Bagwell is a Hall of Famer.
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah. I'm saying all but for the steroids, so that would be Sosa and McGuire.
Oh, okay.
They would all be Hall of Famers, yeah. I think Jeff Bagwell probably took steroids too.
I think he did too, but
I thought Nomar took steroids, to be fair, to even that out with Red Sox. Which, by the way, one more funny thing about Pedro. I could do a whole show about Pedro's peak. It was incredible.
Didn't he beat up Don Zimmer?
Well, Don Zimmer charged at him, and Pedro did as little physical activity as you could do to throw him to the ground. Yeah. Yeah. And I will stand by that. He should have done that. I don't care how old Don Zimmer was. He was charging at him like a madman. What the fuck's Pedro supposed to do? Give him a hug? Throw him down. He was fine. Old man had it coming to him, honestly. But what's kind of funny about Pedro is the Red Sox have their retired numbers outside the ballpark. Like when you're walking by, it's got the brick and it's got like just the number up there. 1, 4, 6, 9, whatever, all their retired numbers. Pedro's 45.
Mm-hmm.
And someone on conservative Twitter a year or two ago posted a picture and was like, Red Sox, we are amongst friends. They are paying tribute to Donald Trump, our president.
That's funny.
And I'm like, you fucking moron. Like, you
that's
like,
bad.
like, that's so stupid. Because right next to Pedro's number, by the way, would be the number 42.
Mm-hmm.
Bill Clinton, presidency. Oh, wow, they love George Washington, too, and fucking whatever. I don't know. Who is the 14th president, Braden?
Franklin Pierce.
Franklin Pierce, Bowdoin College. Good tribute for a New England guy. What about the 26th president?
Teddy Roosevelt.
Good president.
Yeah.
They want to pay tribute to him. I think it's funny that Bill Clinton was in office when the entire league retired his presidential number.
Bill Clinton was president when Longlegs was set, so there's a no.
Really?
Yeah.
When was it set?
Whenever in his presidency.
Oh, so between the years of 92 and 2000?
Yeah.
Gotcha, okay. I guess they make mention of Bill Clinton somewhere in there.
It's set in the FBI office, and there's a picture of Bill Clinton.
Yeah, gotcha. Who was the 27th president?
William Taft.
William Taft also has a tribute at Fenway Park. Good for him. I thought he always deserved
Good for
it.
Taft.
What about the 9th president?
William Henry Harrison.
Gotcha. That was a good one.
Yeah.
I always called him the Ted Williams of presidents.
Mm-hmm.
Truly.
Great at catching pneumonia.
He's pretty good at that. Elite at that. Better than any president, I would say.
Probably, yeah.
Although, damn, man, if Joe Biden steps out in his condition, anything under 50 degrees, he might get it. But it's so dumb. And they also have these, like, hats. They'll sell hats that have just the retired number. Like, the old guys will wear the Ted Williams one, number 9. And Pedro's my favorite player of all time. But I can't get it. It's just a hat that says 45.
Oh,
and I know there are enough morons out there that's exactly what they'll think.
Well,
I can take or leave Trump, to be totally honest with you. I'm not like an totally anti-Trump guy, but I just don't want either side of that wearing that hat in public. You know
that reminds me.
34th president?
Oh, that was Eisenhower.
Most clutch president of all time. Yeah.
A couple of years during 2020, I think it was Garth Brooks who was doing a show in Detroit, and he was wearing a Barry Sanders jersey.
Mm-hmm.
So it said Sanders 20.
Oklahoma State guy.
So it said Sanders 20. And some idiot on Twitter thought that he was wearing a Barry Sanders campaign.
Bernie Sanders.
Yeah.
Thought he was wearing a Bernie Sanders.
What did I say?
Barry.
Oh,
which
Bernie.
he was wearing. Yeah.
He was wearing Barry Sanders, yes.
Yeah.
People thought he was wearing a Bernie Sanders. I'm like, what are we?
People are fucking unbelievable. I don't want to get political, but I'm as apolitical as I've ever been. It's just a fucking cesspool. Braden, speaking of politics, they're very liberal across the pond.
Now they are.
You're looking to find a connection to a team across the pond, and I'm going to help you with that. As your quasi boss, I'm going to help you with that.
Mm-hmm.
That's coming up next.
Thank you.
Cam Show, brought to you by Rogue Media Sports Network, powered by Rogue Media Sports Network, here high atop the Alico building, the historic Alico building in downtown Waco, Texas, where Braden Murray has called on me for help. And when Braden Murray calls on me for help, I help, damn it. I help Braden Murray in some things. Mm-hmm. But Braden, we've talked about this on the show a little bit. So I'm a big Premier League guy, really big Liverpool guy. You are starting to get more into club football. I told you once you do it, you're never going to go back to just being an international guy. And I mean, you keep up with this international stuff. So I think you're going to do really well with this. You like to wake up early too. So I think you're going to like that aspect of things. But we need to help you pick a club.
Okay.
And it's not as easy as just, oh, I like this. There's a lot that goes into these clubs.
Right.
You know, there's social aspects of it. There's historical aspects of it. Sometimes political aspects of it. And I want to help you find your club. So you had thrown a couple names by me last week. Mm-hmm. I know you've got kind of a short list. And what I want to do, if it's okay with you, you go through those names that you have on the list, and I'm going to tell you what I know about those clubs and hopefully help you make that decision.
Can I start by saying teams that I do not want to?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't.
And do you have an overall philosophy for it? Like, I don't want to look at Big Six or anything like that.
I don't want to support the Manchester teams.
Good call. I like that about you. All right. So what are the other teams you don't want any part of?
I don't want Tottenham.
Okay. Zach sheds a single tear.
Sorry, Zach.
Our producer Zach.
Sorry, Zach.
Braden wants to win something. Gotcha.
And I don't want. I feel like Arsenal hasn't been very good recently.
Also a good call. They are good, but yes.
Oh, okay.
Fuck Arsenal. Don't do that. Don't do that. Arsenal feels like the most, like, oh yeah, I'm a fan. I like Arsenal kind of club for America. You know what I mean? Chelsea's like that too.
Actually, I guess we'll go no Big Six then. Is what I'm.
No Big Six.
Is what I'm going to end up going with.
That would eliminate. All right, for those who are not familiar, that eliminates Tottenham, Arsenal, Liverpool, Manchester United, Manchester City, and Chelsea.
Well, yeah. Chelsea is the team that I had been following the most closely.
Don't do Chelsea.
Oh, I'm not going to do Chelsea.
Chelsea has Chelsea and Man City have the worst repercussions in terms of reputation.
I mean, like, I don't mind supporting Liverpool, but you support Liverpool. That's not a bad thing, but I don't want to have.
You don't want to be like me, son.
I feel like it'd be more interesting for the show if I supported another team.
Fine, bitch.
So the team I'm probably leaning the most towards is Aston.
Oh, okay. So you're gonna start off right off the bat with the one you feel the best.
Okay.
About.
Forget that. Let's get.
You already said it. Just go and say it.
Okay, Aston Villa.
Aston Villa. Okay. Here's what I know about Aston Villa. Okay. It is a historic club. I think they're a founding member of the Football League, which would put them back to the 1870s. Quite historic. Villa Park, historic park. They played in it for well over 100 years. they are a team that for a while, like they were kind of the classic old guard. So here's kind of where some themes will come back to. The Premier League started in 92, 93. Yeah. Before that, it was the first division. And basically the difference was the money coming in. The Premier League is what made a Big Six. Like those teams got to be, the richest and most powerful. So before the Premier League, Aston Villa was absolutely a player. In fact, they won the European Cup in 1982. They were winning first division championships. They were a mainstay in the top flight. Like they were one of the good historic clubs. Premier League comes around. They fall on hard times. They just qualified for the Champions League for the first time basically since they won the European Cup. And this is kind of the start of something good, we think, for Aston Villa.
Okay.
They finished in the top 4. Like that's really tough to do. This was a team that was celebrating during the COVID year because they stayed up. They avoided relegation by goal difference, which, by the way, they should have been relegated in that season with some goal line technology that wasn't used properly. And then they sold off their best player, their young starlet, Jack Grealish, and somehow they outlasted the Steven Gerrard era, which was not great, as their manager, and now they're on a good path.
That's nice.
So you wouldn't be a full bandwagon, because a full bandwagon would be a Big Six that's doing well.
Okay.
But they are on a good path right now. But long term, you've got to be willing to deal with some mid-table, possibly relegation scraps, which any team outside of the Big Six should have to deal with. So
and
not bad. Good tradition, good fan base. Birmingham, where Ozzy Osbourne's from. The heir to the British throne, big Villa supporter.
Really?
Yeah, William.
Ooh.
Well, as big as a royal could be supporting a soccer team, you know what I mean? Like, that's his team, though. He sticks with them.
I kind of have a very small history connection with Aston Villa.
Okay.
Because the first FIFA that I ever played, my first ever FIFA career mode, my guy played for Aston Villa.
Nice.
So I've had
Paul McGrath.
an interest in Aston Villa ever since. Another team I
Villa's the leader in the clubhouse. Villa. Not a bad choice.
Okay. The other team I was interested in was West Ham.
West Ham.
I'm saying West Ham.
Then don't be a fan.
I'll say West Ham.
West Ham. It's 2 different words. West Ham United.
Yeah.
Which is in what part of London?
The West.
The east part. The East End. Yeah. Don't shoot the messenger. West Ham, another long-standing club. Well over 120, 130 years old. Same color scheme as Aston Villa, the claret and blue. They had actually, you know what you need to watch is the movie Green Street Hooligans with Charlie Hunnam in his terrible Cockney accent, but it's actually a pretty good movie. It's him and the Hobbit guy. Elijah Wood. Elijah Wood.
Oh.
Elijah Wood. Was Elijah Wood Lord of the Rings. Sorry. Lord of the Rings. You're right. Martin Freeman was the Hobbit. Very good movie. And West Ham, proud history in terms of the 1966 World Cup. The only one that England ever won. They'll tell you that West Ham won the World Cup because it was largely made of some really good West Ham players. And, I mean, not much to say about them. Their big thing is the hooliganism back in the day. They did just win the Conference League, which is the 3rd European competition, if you're into that. But, yeah, very, very Cockney part of London. Russell Brand is a big fan. I believe James Corden is too. Which is bang unfortunate. They are fatalistic too. So they come out to one of my favorite songs, for a Premier League team, which is "I'm Forever Blowing Bubbles," and so they literally blow bubbles around the stadium. But the whole point of the song is kind of sad. It's the big crescendo is fortune's always hiding. I look everywhere. I'm forever blowing bubbles, pretty bubbles in the air. Because things don't go well for West Ham quite often. They don't win a lot of trophies, which most of these teams that you're going to name aren't because they're not Big Six. Right. But good, loyal fan base. They unfortunately play in not a great stadium, the London Stadium. They had a great ground before that. And have gone through some mismanagement. But the only non-Liverpool Premier League shirt I have is a West Ham shirt.
Okay.
Yeah. Sir Bobby Moore, who was the captain of that England team. Guy who scored the hat trick in the final. Uh-oh. I should remember that. All right. West Ham. West Ham. The Hammers. You do that a lot?
Okay.
I'm forever blowing bubbles. Pretty bubbles in the air. They fly so high. Nearly reach the sky. Then like my dreams, they fade and die. Fortune's always hiding. I look everywhere. I'm forever blowing bubbles. Pretty bubbles in the air. United. Dun, dun, dun. United. Just get used to doing that. You sang yesterday. I decided to do it today.
Maybe that'll get us.
I used to have a code with when I was working in local news, and me and one of my other reporters, we hated it. And so when things were going bad, I'd just be like, I'm blowing bubbles, man. I'm blowing bubbles. That means it's not going well, and I want to die. West Ham.
How many more? How many do you want
West
me to
Ham
name?
United. Why don't we go two more for
Two
time's
more?
sake?
Okay.
Do you have how big is your list?
It was 3, but I'll
Oh, okay. Well, we'll just do 3. We'll just do 3.
well,
I want you to actually have a passion for this.
It was the list I named to you last week was 3, but I realized that one of them actually isn't in the Premier League anymore.
Oh. Then let's do that one too. Fuck it. Go back to 4 because I want to hear what that team is.
Okay. Newcastle.
Okay. Newcastle is an interesting one because well-respected club for a long time until a few years ago, really. You could do worse than Newcastle, but it has been bought by Arab oil money, and it's getting sports washed. And that is like a big thing in England. City is the big one. Paris Saint-Germain in France. It makes way for plastic fans, which Newcastle did not have. I mean, Newcastle has one of the great fan bases in the land. It's a major city in England with only one club. Okay. Which none of the other ones have that. Liverpool have 2, Manchester have 2, England have a bunch, London have a bunch. Birmingham has 2, Birmingham City and Aston Villa. So it's like big time, and they have really a great history. They haven't won a major trophy since like the 50s. I think they won the Cup Winners' Cup somewhere in there, but that doesn't exist anymore. And so they're kind of trying to. They think they're on the beginning of a Manchester City type of run here. They did not qualify for the Champions League this year. Alan Shearer, the Premier League's all-time leading scorer, is a Geordie and played at Newcastle. That's a tough accent to learn too. That's where Charlie Hunnam's originally from, the Geordie accent. In fact, Liverpool's old captain, Jordan Henderson, had the Geordie accent. And when he would do post-game interviews and he would say the word control, with the Geordie accent, it sounds like cunt rule. Like a cunt roll.
Yeah.
We took cunt rule at a game. Yeah. So good long-standing fan base, much like the other two that we've named, closer to Villa than it is to West Ham in terms of just long time, like almost original members. Black and white stripe uniform, if you're into that kind of thing. Yeah. They've got like, what do they call them? Magpies on their logo. Yeah, for that kind of thing. Had a great run in the 90s, mid-90s. They had some really fun teams, but didn't win anything. Newcastle United, not bad.
Okay.
But I just don't like Villa's a little more wholesome and has a good future, whereas Newcastle might have a good future, but not as wholesome. All right, what's the non-Premier League team?
Burnley.
Don't do that to yourself.
Okay.
Just don't. Burnley has and it was really one manager who's not there anymore, but they have a reputation for being just the anti-football. Like, park the bus, 10 men behind the ball, complete shithousery. Just like, I don't know, what the fuck are you doing? You know what it kind of reminds me of is old Press Virginia, the West Virginia teams with Bob Huggins, where they really had like no skill, but they would just press the shit out of you and like dare officials to call fouls. And you're just like, come on, this isn't fun. Burnley was like that under Sean Dyche for a long time. And are just not to tell you about Burnley. So actually Zach and I looked at this the other day. Burnley's shirt sponsor is Visit Detroit.
Oh.
Yeah. Usually this has been common the last like 10 years or so, where they'll do like a visit something. Arsenal used to have visit Rwanda. Cardiff was visit Malaysia. So it was a lot of like third world countries or like places that needed some tourism.
Right.
Burnley is visit Detroit, which is fitting because Burnley is a lot like Detroit of the United Kingdom. Very industrial, gross. Don't do it. Don't do it to yourself. But you like the claret, huh? Three of those 4 were claret teams.
I guess I do. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to. You're like my son in this. I don't want to tell you what to do.
Mm-hmm.
Just don't do Burnley of those.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good advice so far.
But that's a solid list there.
Mm-hmm.
I've said my piece. I think we'll need to convene in a couple weeks because the Premier League season starts in a little less than a month.
Okay.
4 weeks or so. So we're going to need to convene soon and talk about what team you've chosen.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And then I think we can do a real history lesson. I can learn some more.
Okay.
You know? What do you think?
Okay, that sounds like a good idea.
Braden. Oh, you're going to be you're going to love it, man. 6:30 in the morning on a Saturday. Just yelling random British shit all the time. It's a lot of fun. It'll kill you, but it's a lot of fun. That's Braden Murray. I'm Cam Stewart. This is The Cam Show, brought to you by Rogue Media Sports Network. We will see you tomorrow where we'll talk about, I don't know, stuff. Stuff?
Yeah.
That's the show. Play the credits. Now.
We are Rogue Media Sports.